This episode will clearly show you how the nervous system can help you heal from gaslighting and finally trust your decision to not go back to your narcissistic ex. Hello, and welcome back to the episode. Today, I sit down with a former client of mine named Cheryl, who spent 42 years with the same man, loving him, losing herself, staying stuck in indecision if she should go back to him after she finally did leave, and doing every single self-help thing she could think of to find peace again, to feel confident in her decision to have gotten divorced from him before she finally discovered what it was that was missing. What shifted for Cheryl wasn't getting more information, wasn't learning more. It was actually finding safety in her body for the first time in her life. So we are laying it all out for you today and what finally helped her shift. From this episode, I really want you to take away the idea of why self-trust cannot be rebuilt with affirmations or podcasts or YouTube videos by themselves, and what your nervous system actually needs before real confidence or peace is possible. I want you to hear the very specific way that we cracked open the self-judgment that Cheryl had been carrying since childhood and replace that with compassion for herself that actually stuck. And I want you to hear the exact moment that Cheryl felt the fog lift and could see so clearly, without a doubt, that she shouldn't go back to her ex-husband, and why that clarity only came after the nervous system was safe enough to allow her to see it. We go into depth about Cheryl's experience in my program called Becoming, and how tapping really was this missing piece that helped her find safety and self-trust. So if you don't know what tapping is, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And this is a body-based tool that we use to regulate the nervous system while we are processing memories, feelings, and beliefs to help shift them. What Cheryl experienced is my tap and tend method, which is the way that I have taken EFT tapping and internal family systems, or IFS parts work, and combined them together so that I can help clients really identify the many parts that are holding these memories and beliefs and feelings so that we can shift them. So when Cheryl mentions feeling connected to parts of herself that she had never been connected to before, that is what she is referencing. I'm so excited for you to hear her journey. And be sure to stick around to the end of the episode where we pull an oracle card, and that will offer you a message that you can use to stay conscious in your healing this week. So let's take a deep breath and begin. Welcome, Cheryl. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
It's always such a treat to get to talk with my former clients about their becoming story, how you have really transformed over our time together in the program. And what I want to start with is how impactful our free session was when you came into your intro session. What I remember really specifically about that your energy and what you were sharing in that session was how much you were lacking in self-trust, not being able to trust yourself to make the decision to stay or go in the relationship, not being able to trust that you would be able to see red flags in other types of relationships, not being able to really feel like you could confidently make that decision for yourself. And
Yeah.
know now where you ended after our time together with like this self-trust being such an amazing accomplishment and skill that you have learned. I'm really excited for you to share how you got there. So talk to me about, what do you remember from that first free intro session, and how did you start to rebuild that self-trust as you went through the program?
Coming into that interest session, I had gone through a divorce program that was really helpful on seeing all the phases of grief and whatnot that you go through divorce. And I had worked really hard the whole year on trying to reset my nervous system and just feel better, just feel good, just feel safe. But 42 years with the same person, it's so hard to know, especially when you leave the person when you still really love them, but you're just at rock bottom and you are in self-preservation mode and you don't know what else to do to save yourself, save them, whatever. Um, but something was still missing. When I went through the divorce program, I had met some other women who had really gone through some similar things that I had. And it wasn't addressing, um, I'll just say for a better word, the gaslighting
Mm.
that, when you grow up with a mom who has schizophrenia and you live your young life in chaos and you're just trying to keep the peace, you turn off your own needs and instincts and whatever, and you're just doing whatever you can to make everybody happy and keep peace and whatever. And, he came into my life literally right when my mom abandoned me. And I had actually been in love with him since 3rd grade. And this
Wow.
was our senior year. And so, I had dreamed about him being my boyfriend for so long. And then we were together at a very vulnerable time for me, and he was something I could hold on to. And I felt like he's so smart and just so, intelligent and um, got it together. And I'm coming from a schizophrenic mother. There's got to be things wrong with me. So I will just listen to him. And so I'd really learned to tune out my own voice and just, I thought everybody else knew better than I did. And then, we were together 42 years. And it wasn't until I had listened to a podcast on narcissists and there was something about specifically on gaslighting. So when I heard that, that was when I knew, oh, I'm at rock bottom. I have been gaslit for 42 years. I need to end this. This needs to stop. And so, you know, I'm sure a lot of women will understand that you can get gaslit to the point you gaslight yourself. So then you don't even know. We've shrunk our world. We've just trusted everybody else but ourselves. We're the people pleasers, all of that. So I'd been working really hard to trust myself, but 42 years with somebody, it's like, okay, is it what's familiar? And I still love him and I wanted to maintain a really good relationship for our family. I love our family unit. I love us getting together, but I knew I needed to heal my codependent tendencies. And I had gone to therapy, read a book, all the things, gone to the divorce class, but yet still something wasn't right. I still couldn't trust myself. I still didn't know who is Cheryl? What does she want? What does she like? What does she need? So yeah, talking to you is just like I think I'm finally gonna get that missing piece.
Mm.
I've worked so long and so hard on trying to heal myself or thinking I'm the one who's broken. So let me do all the self-help and personal development and therapy and courses and books,
Yeah.
all the things. And I just was like at my wit's end. And so talking to you felt like I think I'm finally getting the missing piece.
Being being gaslit for 42 years, on top of coming from a family unit that involved schizophrenia, right? You didn't ever learn how to trust yourself. There was never the priority was survival in both of those scenarios. And so
Yeah.
you hadn't yet developed the skill of what that felt like to find safety in yourself, to trust yourself, and then to build the confidence that comes from there. And so it makes total sense that you sort of went from your situation with your mother into a relationship that had some similarities of not needing to trust yourself or defaulting to somebody else.
Yeah.
I think for somebody who has never felt safety in their body, that can be a really strange experience. So, and maybe safety and self-confidence sort of being this elusive thing of like, how do you I want to feel that way. And how do you even begin to get there? What was the missing piece? What did you do in the program that you hadn't done before that helped you be able to accomplish those things?
I think safety is the key. I never felt safe growing
Yeah.
up. I didn't feel safe to be me. I was criticized for being me or lashed out at or whatever, um, from the people that I loved and trusted the most. And so I spent so much time in my room and by myself, and I even limited how many friends I had because I just was like, well, something obviously wrong with me. So I never knew how to feel safe in myself with myself. And I had outsourced my safety to him. And when it felt good, it felt great. And then when it didn't, it was just like, wait a minute, what's going on? And so I did not know how to provide safety for myself. And the thing about the course that changed that was through the tapping and through being able to say, I'm safe to have these emotions, I'm safe to have these thoughts, I'm safe. Just repeating that, number one, is really helpful. But the the other side to that is seeing Cheryl as the little girl not feeling safe, and seeing Cheryl as the 20-year-old who's about to graduate from college and doesn't feel safe. And, Cheryl, the mom who is trying to figure certain things out and is being gaslit into thinking things aren't what they seem. And it's really somehow maybe my fault. And so seeing those as parts that had an experience that needed to feel safe, and that I, as an adult,
Mhm.
could be the one to provide that part, the safety, just really cracks you open to be like, oh my gosh, I can provide the safety for myself. Wow, that part that I am now providing safety to, that part has been driving this bus for
Mhm.
so long. And I can tell her, you're okay. You go
Yeah.
sit in the back and take a nap, grab a blanket. I'll drive the bus. I'll go park it somewhere. I'll go park it at the beach or what, it's
Yeah.
just all of a sudden separating myself. I never knew. You grow up reading and everybody tells you, oh, just forgive. So I tried to forgive my mom or forgive my sister or forgive the circumstance, or it doesn't
Yeah.
really mean anything. I mean, I can forgive them, but this part of me has adapted and has triggers, and forgiveness doesn't do anything to comfort and make her feel better and make her relax and know that she's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. What you're referring to is parts work, if the woman listening is not aware of what you're talking about. And this form of introspection is so powerful because it shifts your self-judgment to self-compassion. So like you're saying, I could see myself, I could see my younger self who didn't feel safe, and oh my God, I feel so sad for her. How can I comfort this younger part who didn't have a mom who was available? Right. And then you become that comfort for that part. And every time that you tend to a part of yourself, you're building that trust with yourself.
Yeah.
And and just like in external relationships, we have to build trust piece by piece. So you can't just like give yourself affirmations of I trust myself, I trust myself. If all your lived experience is not trusting yourself, right? Your body's way smarter than your mind is. But with this action of using the tapping, which is regulating your nervous system, while you're going into these more painful memories or experiences, it's like, okay, I'm safe to be here. I'm safe to feel on behalf of this part. I'm safe to find curiosity around this part and give her what she needs so that she's not stuck in that feeling of, I can't trust myself, I can't trust other people, I'm alone. And you're healing your
Yeah.
past trauma.
Well, and there was one moment that we were tapping and I was seeing my part, and I don't remember exactly what it was that I expressed, but it's interesting because we'll start out tapping about whatever emotion I'm having that day,
Mhm.
and or whatever has been recently triggered, but it will go back, it will find the root cause of that trigger, the part that's being triggered.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just you and the other women in the group tapping session seeing us, just seeing me or seeing that part. And one time in particular, you verbalized how it made absolute perfect sense that that part felt the way it did and adapted the way it did, and why that part would get triggered now as I'm an adult. And that recognition of why that made perfect sense
Mm.
was validating on a different level than I had ever experienced. It's one thing for people to be like, I see you, I've been there, I felt like that. Even if we have different experiences, we've gone through something similar that is have triggered similar parts or brings up similar emotions. And it's wonderful that we can validate each other. But there was one time in particular that because we feel like we're wrong or we're stupid or, oh, I should not think that way anymore, or that doesn't
Yep.
make sense. I can't believe I'm still letting that bother me. And you verbalizing as to why it made sense that I'm
Mm.
not just crazy or stupid was so freeing. It was like, I don't know, I'm valid in that. I'm not broken. I'm not stupid. It makes perfect sense that I did that and I felt that way. And that would help the adult me, I think, feel more confident that I can I can be more the adult and not the younger part. There was a reason for that. And I think I just projected that I will always be this little sister. I'll always be the imp. I'll be the annoying one, whatever. And it was like, no,
What I what I visualize when I'm working with a client and when we're in a tapping session where I'm guiding you through the EFT tapping is sort of like you standing in front of me holding the space around you, right? Giving you the physical safety in the here and now that allows you to then extend your arms around your parts so that you can comfort your parts. And the only reason that you could go so deep, Cheryl, was because you had found safety in your nervous system. So that is why the tapping is so powerful because it's regulating your nervous system while we're going into these places. So you were able to access parts of yourself that you wouldn't have had that capacity to see them or be with them in that same way if you were still in the survival state.
yeah,
So it's so, so, so powerful what you do in the tapping sessions and the way that you showed up with the willingness to be on the journey, right? You're like, today I'm feeling this way and I don't know where this is going to lead, but I probably will end in tears and it will feel great afterwards. Like it,
yeah, true.
it takes a lot of, well, determination, which is one of the words that we gave you as your parting gift of how we saw you in the group.
Yeah,
Determined and safety were your words. And
yeah,
for you to come in with the intention of wanting self confidence, wanting clarity on what you should do, and wanting to feel peace, and you to have like gotten all of those things is so tremendously huge.
I mean, it was, I mean, I know it's cliche, but it was literally life changing for me. The level of safety and self confidence that I feel now, I didn't even think I would reach what I feel today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the woman who's in this indecision, I don't trust myself place, talk her through how quickly you came to your decision and how full body clear it was for you when you came into that one session and you're like, "Oh, yeah, there's
Of
I'll let you
course.
I'll let you share it." Talk to that woman who's like, "I don't feel like I can ever find clarity around this."
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I love how you talk about what you're doing is helping us get through the mindset of narcissism. And, it's not even like he was necessarily that narcissistic, but the gaslighting, um, just when you work so hard to try to fix yourself, and finally you're starting to go, okay, wait, maybe it's not me. Let me let me look. And so my first therapist through in the divorce, got me to see things a little differently. And I'd be like, oh, I don't want to hurt other people. What about, and she's like, but what about you? You're hurting. And slowly you wake up to starting to see yourself, but you might still not be willing to see the other person clearly. And it's not even about seeing them like what they could or couldn't do for you. It's more about, oh, they weren't capable. They're truly not capable. How on earth why was I so blind to that? Why did it take so long? And you have to kind of hear it enough times in enough ways from enough people that one time you will hear it just right where you're like, oh no, now I see what I truly wasn't seeing or didn't want to see. I mean, maybe we just didn't want to see it because we want to be in potential land. We want to believe that, even though they do love us, why can't they be this way for us? Why can't they, whatever? I'm sure there's varying degrees of love along with the varying degrees of narcissism, but it's because we're capable of loving in a certain way. We just don't understand why it's not coming back in a certain way. And yeah, it's really that slowly opening your own eyes to yourself that then you can start to see them, and then you can start to see the whole big picture. And I don't know, I mean, it was just a chipping away for the longest time. And then finally it was like, oh my gosh, I get it now. I was like, how did I not see that? But yeah,
Yeah.
that box thick.
Yeah. When you look at somebody who's narcissistic in that way of not having the capability of showing up with empathy or showing up from a place of wanting to find resolution or showing up from a place of wanting to help you and be a supportive partner, when you look at it like that, just like you would see a blind person and you're like, that person is incapable of seeing. I'm not trying to change a blind person, right? I don't think that there's something that I can do to finally make the blind person see. But I do think that there's something that I can do to finally get the narcissistic person to care more about me or to exhibit more empathy or, right? It's like we look at those things in two very different ways. So to bring them on that same plane of this person is incapable of giving you what you need, that that brings forth an ending, which brings
Yeah.
forth grief, which is why we resist, in my opinion, why we resist seeing that, because then that means, shit, I can't keep actively choosing this relationship with my eyes open now.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
Yeah.
that was courageous for you to be able to come to session and be like, oh yeah, this is clear that I can't go back to him. I can't have another relationship with him or
Yeah.
restart, right? Because you were already divorced. So there was a question on restarting.
Yeah. I can't have the same relationship
Yeah.
or the one that I always had in my mind in potential land,
Yeah.
that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And, now I can see him in his parts. I can see his parts that aren't healed and that's why he can't give me what it is that I wanted uh, from him throughout the whole relationship. And so now I can love him for who he is
Mhm.
and not impose on him or not outsource to him any parts of myself that he is just incapable of taking care of.
You set the appropriate boundaries for yourself and the relationship to not continue in a dynamic where you were repeatedly going to that dry well for water, right? So you can love him and you can appreciate his parts and see him for what he is, and you can still choose to set the boundaries so his parts are no longer affecting your life directly. I mean, he's always in your
Exactly.
life because you share children, but even with that, you found a way to be able to coexist and co-parent without getting spun up in the enmeshment or the codependency or the gaslighting or the web or whatever metaphor we want to use there. You are separate from him now.
Yeah, and I think so many people think that, oh, we can end amicably, and then somewhere along the lines, it blows up, and usually people end up hating each other. And
Mhm.
but I really wanted to prevent that. I really wanted us to end amicably, and we had gone to a therapy session to see. I think he was hoping that through the therapy session, I'd see that we could stay in the marriage and not get divorced or just separate for a bit. And I was in the therapy session hoping he would see why I need the divorce. And I think just me saying that he was the love of my life and my best friend, and I just need to take care of myself, made him feel like, oh, okay, I don't have to hate her. She doesn't hate me. This isn't her trying to, uh, move on, and I know a lot of people do need to, but for him, for and whatever parts he has that are uh unhealed, that was comforting for him to hear. And so now we can stay amicable because now I'm not pulled into, okay, maybe we can get back together. Like, okay, we achieved one level, we achieved the amicable level. But then it was like, because we're still enmeshed and entangled in each other's lives, how can we keep moving forward? And it wasn't until I could truly put on, like take off the white love of my life uh, glasses and put on the, hey, you're just another person just like me.
Yeah.
Hey, you are the father of my children. You're somebody who has unhealed parts. We're both just doing the best we can. And I can put on those glasses and see him in that light, that it's like I'm happy to be with him and I don't have to have the heartstrings pulled on or worry that my boundaries are going to be crossed because I'm solid in my boundaries now. I can see why my boundaries need to be what they are, and I can see him clearly in a different light. Hopefully that
Yeah.
makes sense.
It does. You can move into just being genuine friends. There's no longer an emotional pull for could this work? Should this work? I need him. I want him. It's like it feels like you're explaining a very clear delineation, a clear break where there's no longer that indecision there of we coexist, we co-parent, we're friends. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Tell me tell me what felt different for you in the group versus therapy. 'Cause this is a question that I get a lot from women who say, like, "I've already done a lot of therapy, and I know myself really well." What do you think is different in your experience of the group versus your experience in therapy?
Well, two things. One, in therapy, I feel like you're just talking and you're just, I don't think I could have come to the decision of divorce or even started the divorce without a therapist. I mean, I was at such rock bottom
Yep.
that I needed somebody to say, but what about you?
Yeah.
Look how you're hurting. Look at what's happening, you know, and kind of coaxed me through that I need to almost go no contact and just hold my hand through something really difficult. Whereas this was more transformational in that on different levels. One, being in the group and being able to relate, to hear each other, to not just only receive other people saying, "Oh my God, I see you, I hear you, I've been there and understand," but you being able to do that for other people so that sometimes you're the one who's needing something and then sometimes you're the one to give. And it's not you just in talk therapy, just blah, 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 blah. So the Slack was, unfortunately, I didn't take advantage of the Slack initially. I didn't quite get it. I didn't necessarily think of it as a place where I could um, just process.
Mhm.
And the great thing is even if the other women in the group don't respond, you do, and it's so helpful and validating. But that's kind of like in the moment, and half the time, just putting it in Slack made me feel better or helped me see it clearly. So that
Yeah.
that's one level. Another level is the tapping and the feeling safe and the being able to not look at just what's happening on the surface, but like in therapy, it never took me deep. I mean, I might have talked about my mom or my sister or having felt a certain way, but it never took me to a certain place and then gave me safety there and helped me see it differently or what can I do to help that person, that part of me. So that was another level. And then also even if we weren't tapping on me specifically, if it was with the group, hearing how somebody else, what they were going through in the tapping and how they were processing. And it's amazing how either it can help you because you did have a similar emotion experience, feeling, whatever, that it releases a little something in you,
Mhm.
or you're even just holding the place for the other person and witnessing them, or you're being witnessed. So it's so many levels and layers that,
Mhm.
therapy, you just go once a week and you kind of blurt stuff out and you might get action steps to help take into the next, okay, well, when you see him again, do this, but this, and we can get that too in Slack. Oh, this is coming up and how do I work around it and make myself feel safe going through it? We get that support, but
Yeah.
just going deeper and seeing the part work is
Yeah.
so different. And just being the group, it's so nice to feel safe with other people going through the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, you get the co-regulation, you get the shared witnessing, which to your point, it's really fulfilling to feel witnessed and also to witness. Because even in
Yeah.
witnessing someone else, you're witnessing yourself because you draw those
Mhm.
same similarities. So it's just like compounding layers of safety and witnessing and regulation. Sometimes in therapy, what happens, I think, when we go once a week or once every other week, it just becomes an hour of catch up of, "Oh, this is what happened during the last couple of weeks." So for you to be able to have that time in Slack, which if you're listening and you're like, "What the hell is Slack?" Slack is an online communication platform. So you get to come and share voice notes or text about what's going on, how you're feeling daily, and get real-time feedback. And that helps be able to process through things more in real time, regulate through things in more in real time. And so we can focus in the session around the deeper pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it was in Slack that I had an aha moment where one of the other women shared, I don't know why I would expect him to do anything different.
Yeah.
He's a narcissist and he will always be a narcissist. So I don't know why. And that really hit me where I was like, oh my gosh, why would we expect anything different? So I think that was kind of the beginning of my aha, like,
Yeah.
he is not capable of giving me certain things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I cannot say this enough, Cheryl, but the way that you showed up with intention to the program is the reason that you got the transformation that you did. Because I can lead you to water, but you really dove in and you really trusted the process and trusted your ability to learn the skills and practice the skills. So you have created your own freedom here. I was guiding and holding along the way. Like, you really did create this for yourself, and I'm so, like, proud of you. I'm so honored to have been part of this part of your story and to see where you're gonna go from here because you are a different person. You are showing up in more of that self energy, driving the bus with your kick-ass bus with the peace signs and all the things. Um,
Exactly.
it's just been so amazing to watch you move through the process.
Well, your program is also another level that makes it different, is that
Mm,
the program takes you through all the processes and I had kept putting off that final higher self meditation because I wasn't sure, can I can I be that person?
yeah,
And so through you helping me feel safe get out of survival mode and see my parts. It was like, oh, I can be. And once I made that shift that I can be, and then I did that meditation that you guide us through so beautifully, um, yeah, that was really life changing to see myself as a completely different person, not even just some unattainable. Oh, I can see myself as that I might be someday. It's like, no, I can be that. I can step into her at any moment, or I can be here all the time and slip back once in a while. But so
Yeah.
if it wasn't for your program and your guided meditations and all of that, I mean, I was willing, they say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yep.
And I'm so thankful
Yeah.
that you appeared in my life and led me on this beautiful journey. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being willing to share your journey and your transformation, because I know you know what it's like to be at that rock bottom place where everything feels really scary and dark and overwhelming, and like I'm never going to get to be where Cheryl is. So like these are very real stories. Like you were there not that long ago. You were in that place. So for the woman listening, hold on to that. There's so much hope in moving through this, and it doesn't have to take years. It doesn't have to take decades to be able to find closure and clarity and let go and become really who you want to be. Like you did that in 4 months. It was incredible.
Yeah,
So
truly was. Thank you for
yeah.
helping me get there.
Yeah. Okay, let's pull a card for the listener. So Cheryl, I want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to begin to shuffle the deck. We could just start to place our intention here of what is the message that the listener needs to hear. And whenever you feel like the shuffle is complete, I want you to tell me when to stop.
Stop.
The guides.
Mm.
So I'll find this in the book and I will read it out loud. Let's see. You are not alone. You are surrounded by the guides, angels, friends, supporters, and champions. All you need to do is open the door of your heart, ask for help, whisper your prayer, and they will appear. Not because they have to, but because they want to. They are simply waiting for the invitation. Asking for their support, help, or guidance is the key that unlocks the door to manifestation. If you are feeling alone and disheartened, know that this card signals it is time to reach out, to be vulnerable, to ask for what you need and desire. Your guides are standing at the ready. Allow yourself to fall into their collective embrace and notice synchronicities start to show up.
That's awesome.
When you're ready, the teacher will appear. Did you just say that?
I did it.
Amazing.
Yeah, we can't
Um,
do it alone. We truly can't. It takes a village.
yeah. Well, thank you again, Cheryl, so much for sharing your story.
Thank you so much, Bree.
Okay, it's takeaway time. So, what I really want you to remember and take with you and put in your back pocket is that the nervous system, regulating the nervous system, rehabilitating the nervous system after spending 42 years in a relationship that was up and down, was really the way that Cheryl was able to make these sustainable, life changing changes. So, she was able to really feel safety internally for the first time that allowed her to stop looking to other people for the right answer or the way to make her feel safe. She was really able to turn inward and give herself that validation and that closeness to confirm that she was lovable instead of, again, reaching externally. It helped her be able to really go into these super tender parts of her childhood where she was holding so much self-judgment and meet herself with compassion. Really see herself as, wow, that was a hard time in my life, and I want to give myself what I needed so that that part of me actually trusts that we are safe. And the nervous system work allowed her to calm her body enough to be able to allow the rational brain to come back online so she could find clarity. So she could stop staying in this indecision place of, do I go back to my ex-husband or do I not? And that gave her so much relief. So not only did she feel peace, she felt calm, she feels this incredible self-trust to be able to tend to these parts of her, these emotions that come up, She feels whole. She feels like her own self again, one that's not needing somebody to give her the right answer or to give her validation, but she's able to give herself things that she's never, ever been able to do. And that came because we were working with the nervous system, which is why my program, Becoming, the one that Cheryl went through, is focused and centered on the nervous system regulation and rehabilitation. Because when you can calm your body out of the hypervigilance and the stress and the indecision and the panic and the needing to make sure everybody's okay all the time, when you can come out of that survival place, then you can access the rational brain that helps you find clarity and make meaning. And you can access the emotional brain, which helps you be able to go in deeper to the emotions and your beliefs so that we can find curiosity and shift them. What Cheryl experienced in the Becoming program was very specifically curated to women who have been through narcissistic relationships, who have some amount of confusion, indecision, and a whole lot of emotions to process around what the experience was, whose nervous systems are really jacked up and they need a way to feel calm, to make sense of things, to maybe make a decision, and definitely to rebuild their self-trust and rebuild their confidence and feel like they are themselves again. So if you're stuck in indecision or you resonated with Cheryl and maybe you're stuck in trying to make sense of the gaslighting or trying to not gaslight yourself and thinking that you can go back when you know you shouldn't, please go to the show notes, click through, schedule a free intro session. This intro session is a time that we'll use to see if you are appropriate for the Becoming program. So I will get a really good understanding of where you are, what's keeping you stuck. And if that's aligned with the way that I serve women, then I am so happy to give you that information and help you see how the Becoming program can help you. So please go to the show notes, click through, schedule that intro session. And until I see you there or I see you in the next episode, please remember that you are not alone.